fashion panel discussion. My name is Nazarova. I'm the founder of ARMOAR, which is a platform for collaborative creation of generative digital textures. We'll hear today from three speakers: Adriana Hoppenbrouwer, co-founder of the Fabricant, a digital-only fashion house producing hyper-realistic digital fashion experiences; Benoit Pagotto, co-founder of Artifact Studios, which is a creator-led organization born on the metaverse and focused on next-gen sneaker and collectible experiences. Karinna Nobbs is a co-CEO of the Dematerialised, which is a marketplace for authenticated digital fashion. So excited to have you all here together. I think it's safe to say that we all followed Neo's lead and took the red pill and decided to venture into the machine-generated dream world of digital fashion, which is very exciting to be doing together. Adriana, the Fabricant in many ways has really paved the way for digital fashion to become an actual marketplace. You actually sold the world's first digital-only dress on a blockchain. How did you get into this field, and what gave you the confidence to bet on digital fashion?
Yeah, good question. I think back then nobody really understood us, and we just kept telling the same story on and on until finally a few people understood it and start jumping on the bandwagon. I think that is probably like the way innovators do, and we just had this very strong passion to disrupt the industry, and we really believe that if fashion is all about self-expression and connectivity, and if that self-expression is happening digitally, why should fashion be physical to exist? And that was our driving motto forever, and started actually paying off. And on that first dress, a bit of off record, but on record, the owner is thinking about reselling it, so it might come back to the second market. Yeah, this is very exciting.
That's really the power of digital fashion, that it can actually be resold and grow in value. That's incredible.
Exactly.
I love how your journey started with a question, being able to ask if fashion actually has to be all physical. Karinna, I first met your co-founder, Marjorie, at a fashion tech forum in New York, where she and her husband were presenting the idea behind NFTs and wearable digital assets. And I'll never forget the blank stares that the audience had, probably thinking they were in a wrong room altogether, listening to that. And I realized that Luxo at that time were ahead of their time. But over the last year, I feel like the timeline has sped up dramatically, and collectors have now really started to pay attention to this marketplace. And blockchain is a really core technology of your product. Why is authentication important to you?
I mean, I had the same thing. So I met Marjorie at a circularity conference in Paris, and the same thing. At that precise moment in time, I wasn't super familiar with NFTs, and I went up to speak to them after and said, "What would happen if we put a digital asset on the blockchain?" And they were like, "Well, what do you know about NFTs?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm smitten." And so for me, I guess the thing that really kind of blew my mind effectively, and still keeps me awake at night sometimes, is that it's a win-win situation, whether you're a consumer, whether you're a creator, whether you're a marketplace. The NFTization of digital goods, I just think it offers obviously provenance and storytelling. My background is as a visual merchandiser and I guess a storyteller, as an educator. And so the ability to bring to life the story of where the product has been before, how it's been made, is something that I'm excited to still come. And then I guess the kind of, I say basic, but it's a very important factor, the kind of ownership and authorship and the sovereignty that the blockchain offers, and that kind of distributed, open, kind of decentralized commerce that we're kind of at the edge of.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, I cannot wait to go back to this question in just a moment to dig into actual use cases of how it can look like in the wild. Benoit, things seem to have been moving at warp speed for you at Artifact. You recently have just raised a round of funding led by A16Z. You dropped a project with CryptoPunks, with Dematerialised and the Fabricant. And you also had an amazing career as a strategist, positioning premium brands, luxury retailers, and gaming companies to actually reach their target consumers. How have those experiences helped you launch Artifact and actually introduce you to the concept of digital goods?
So I think for me it was quite natural, like that, because I used to work in fashion and luxury before, and on this aspect you're focused a lot on how you make your consumer, like, feel special, have storytelling around the objects they buy and interact with, because when you pay such high prices, you need to have a story, you need to connect it to art as well. Luxury house has been the one always doing stuff with art. You're not gonna get Walmart to do a collaboration with with Yao Kusama or something like this. Maybe one day. And so all of this I knew a lot. Yeah, you never know. I mean, if I was our agent, I would say no, but it depends how it goes. So I was always, into that, and I actually studied fine arts as well. And then I worked in gaming, in esports, and we were not only making real clothes, but also making skins for the games who are participating in the leagues. And of course, when I was working there, first, we just did a simple thing of how to use digital fashion, but more for the e-commerce, more like to simplify the pipeline and be more reactive in terms of the design, because, esports is a lot driven by your team performance. So you need to be able to pull something out quick, if the team is winning, or if one player during one of the games is using a special character, then you can say, hey, use that unique memory to say, hey, here's a limited edition hoodie that's paying an homage to that moment that just happened on Twitch 10 minutes ago. The issue when you do classic fashion and photography is that you need to, it takes 1 month to get a sample, it's a pain. So I first shifted the whole process of how we were doing merchandising at Fnatic with 3D designs as a base, so that we can easily make mockups, renders, marketing assets, and sell before having actually a physical sample, and work more on a made-to-order model. It was easy, not easy, but I could make it there because we had very few SKUs, and then we don't do volumes, or we don't have retail stores we need to give stock with. So it gave us the ability already to implement a lot of what the virtual fashion discussions was at the time. So that's 2017, 2018. And then with Artifact, it's just that it happened thanks to me meeting, I think, the two perfect co-founders. I think it's a lot about that. I guess Karinna is the same with Marjorie, and that we decided that actually if we put all our knowledge, experience, and network together, we could go further than what I was doing at Fnatic, or Chris doing on his own with skins, or Steven with his custom sneakers. And that when you start with zero legacy, it's just much more easier to innovate from day one, because I guess a lot of big companies, the innovation team is always, 3 people in an office that have a cool job title, but do they really have a big impact on the business? Because most of the business is not driven by the innovation team, it's driven by the marketing team, the wholesale team, and retail team, and all of that, right? So us, we had that thing. That's why we went so fast and we execute so well, for 2 reasons. First, we know exactly what we're doing, because we understand fashion, and we understand gaming, and we understand blockchain. And second, I think it's mostly because we had no past, no legacy, nothing. Nothing to that we need to feed. We only needed to feed the new things we wanted to create. So that's what is helping us every day to just do whatever we want and execute super well.
Absolutely. I mean, there is no history predating you, so everything you do is definitely going to be a first for the next couple years, probably. So it's amazing to be able to follow your work and how you define it, actually. And right now, digital products, I think, are also being built a lot around fandoms, like sports, gaming, fashion, art. I'm noticing that these buyers are also starting to, within these categories, refer to themselves as collectors, not necessarily as consumers. And in the past, digital assets had little value because there was really no ability to authenticate them, which also prevented secondary sales, which is what, Adriana, you're mentioning. Now you're able to go through that process. And NFTs potential for resale markets is really a perfect match for the sneakers market, because they've already been leveraging platforms like eBay to do so. And Adriana, I know you specialize in digital only fashion, but Benoit, your drops have had physical counterparts to your NFTs. This is a question really for the group. What is your view of NFTs as access, linking digital objects to physical world items?
I think this is one of the clear use case of NFTs. You can think of them as membership cards, keys to unlock other things. These things can be other NFTs, they can be experiences, they can be live events, they can be concerts, they can be physical goods, it's just a key access to other stuff, right? That you can verify the owner, you have the history of the access key, and you can also easily trade it and exchange it or resell it to give that access to someone else. So it's just one of the base things. It's one of the utilities we have at Artifact with our NFTs is physicals. And the physicals, we really treat them as an opportunity to make something really special. So again, we take from what we love and learn from luxury houses, like the fact that we don't want to produce anything physical that doesn't have a certain craftsmanship involved. We never want to make stuff in huge quantities because we really believe that the future is in digital ownership, not physical one. And that's what's going to matter for the future users, collectors, or consumers. But still today, you can still make cool stuff in physical because first, it's still an easy entry point for people to come into NFTs because they have something tangible. Okay, I get a real thing. So this I understand. I don't need to make research on why I need that or go deep in the NFT community to understand the long-term value of NFTs. And also it's, we still have physical houses, right? So, and because all of this is based on a collector behavior, we are as well, each of us, like me, I like art, but I used to collect magic cards. I love very expensive lamps. It's my thing. I collect lamps. Chris is collecting Gundam robots. So it's just that you still want to have something to display in your house today for some people, so it's an important utility for now still.
Karinna, what about you?
I mean, I was, I guess, going to refer to the consumer aspect as well, that I really think the alignment of kind of physical or gateway is it's something that consumers can get their head around. And I feel that NFTs could really be the much more sexier loyalty card of the future, basically, for all the reasons that I guess Benoit just kind of aligned. I just think, it's digestible, it makes sense. Again, it's a win-win for all the different people kind of involved in it. And I think it will be critical in the ascension of the NFT adoption.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for us, maybe adding to that, we're very much about passion about digital and digital fashion. And as much as I agree with Benoit and Karinna that actually NFT is just an entry point for several new ways to utilize, and there is I think we're very passionate about the loyalty element of it and the ability to unlock other experiences. But what we are fascinated is about self-expression in the metaverse. And I think that utility of fashion, which goes beyond collecting, right? Like, of course, you have the sneakerheads that collect the sneakers like Benoit, but I think when you look at the fashionistas, the people that love fashion, it is about expressing yourself, it's about styling yourself, it's about defining an identity. And I think that area of exploration is where the NFT is just a baseline technology that allows for, giving the credit for creators, that allows for unlocking different experience. But ultimately, we're fascinated about the ability to self-express yourself through fashion in the digital space and create new business models there. And for us is post-consumer. We don't use the term consumer in the Fabricant because we think that consumer is a very old model. I think the day of today and with blockchain, everybody's a creator, right? And everybody can be part of the economy. And I think we love that. You're not a consumer anymore that just consumes. No, you're actually an active member of the economy and able to co-create with us. So I think that's more our take in the whole NFT fashion space.
I think something that you just hit on, which is a really powerful shift, even in the way that people view themselves from consumer to creator. And I think something that's happened because of the internet is that humans have been using tokens for as long as games have existed to be able to represent themselves. But now that with the advent of being able to create profiles, we've been incubating our digital identities since the creation of our first usernames. Avatars seem like a really natural evolution of that process. And Fabricant has a really amazing vision to actually help fashion transcend the physical body. What role does digital identity specifically play in this process for you?
Yeah, fully. Starting from, all our collections are gender neutral because we actually, our whole philosophy, you don't need to replicate reality in the digital space. And of course, sometimes when you're working with brands and we do collaboration with brands, it is quite hard for them to actually get to that stage that you don't need to replicate reality. We just did a collaboration now with an Australian designer for the Australian Fashion Week. And he briefed like, okay, I want to do a dress. And then we were able to say, but why would you do something that is just physical? Like, let's take it to the next level, right? And then when people see those possibilities, and when fashion designers and creators see those possibilities, it's like a complete new world that opens. And I keep saying, like, in the cyberspace, I'm not myself. Maybe I'm a dinosaur one day. The other day I'm a guy. The other day I'm a woman, and I can have multiple facets. And those multiple facets, we believe, will need to be dressed also differently. Right. So I think where we are going in the Web 3.0 is a lot of the dynamics that exist today used to exist. You're going to have separate places to socialize, but you're going to be coming as an avatar that will need to be dressed. But just like my picture in Instagram is completely different than my picture in LinkedIn, my avatar in Decentraland might be completely different than my avatar in Sandbox or whatever other environment. And I will be dressing and creating my identity differently. And I think there'll be plenty of worlds and avatars. And we are there to create, a wardrobe, a curated wardrobe, because there'll be also plenty of clothes, and we think it's amazing. We just want to be like the fashion house that has a certain curated style that people gravitate to. So
I find it really encouraging that we are already having this conversation and not 10 years from now, just because this really has accelerated dramatically over the last couple of years. I think with the purchase of an NFT asset, you really also don't have to worry about shipping and handling, and authentication is taken care of itself. The only disadvantage I can think of for some specific assets is that you can't really touch a garment. And fashion, what makes it so powerful is its effect on the senses. But in virtual spaces, brands have to rely on the sense of sight to be able to communicate what it is. And Karinna, with your background as a merchandiser, what role does narrative and storytelling actually play in contextualizing digital fashion?
I mean, if we think about how we understand situations, how we kind of develop memories, that it's all narrative based, and so I think that whether you're creating a campaign or whether you're trying to explain the history or background of the reason of why a certain NFT or design was created, I think that plays a part. I think it also plays a part to say, we have to tell a story to find that, to kind of like share, for instance, at the Dematerialized, what are the different types of utility points that you're able to wear your digital kind of clothing in. So for me, I think it's really critical, and it's also kind of difficult because at the moment we see kind of three quite distinct audiences using our platform. So we see the kind of core fashion customer. We're trying to kind of develop a dialogue with the gamers, and we're already in a strong dialogue with the crypto community, but they have very diverse needs in terms of user experience and user interface. So we're trying to be clever, to use technology and narrative and storytelling to make sure that there's a positive journey for everybody who's visiting.
Mm-hmm. I think that narrative is probably going to be the central part of communicating any type of asset that cannot be touched physically. So I love that you also believe similar. And digital fashion, I think, is also starting to get traction in the West just now. But things like live video and video shopping has already taken off in China, which has been grossing millions in sales. So even though NFTs and collectibles are just now taking hold in the US, Benoit, I once heard you say that aliens may already be wearing digital fashion. Could you tell us more about this theory?
Repeat your question, I didn't understand.
Yeah, so I once heard you say that you believe that aliens may already be wearing digital fashion.
Ah, yes.
Could you tell us more about this theory?
It's a dumb thing. Actually, it's not from me, it's from Chris, but it's true. Like, if you look at the sci-fi movies, they always wear the same monosuit. You know, like the aliens, they always have the same silver stuff. And they all wear the same, or like each category of alien, like the normal ones or the sorcerers, like the chief or whatever, they have a specific wardrobe that doesn't change. And most of them wear this very, very neutral thing that is actually perfect thing to wear if you want to do AR tracking on. So that was just the theory that maybe aliens, you know, the humans, they see them like that, but between themselves, the aliens, they see themselves with way cooler clothes than the silver suit they're wearing.
Totally. I mean, in so many ways, if you think of what we're really waiting for right now, we've seen several campaigns mocking up virtual fashion over people in videos or in different photos, but that's still relying primarily on virtual effects. But one of the most anticipated innovations in the industry coming up soon is the introduction of lightweight glasses. Most major tech companies from Snapchat, Google, Apple, Facebook have already hardware in the works, and many believe that this gadget will essentially give us the chance to have a similar impact that the iPhone did. So how can digital fashion in combination with glasses and the advanced role of NFT collectibles help us actually see fashion in real time? Adriana, I would love to hear from you.
And that's a really good question, because we have been talking about it since 2018 when we were founded, that actually we were building a business for when augmented reality was around us and we would actually be dressing digitally in real life. And so it's great to see how technology is moving with that narrative. And we strongly believe, like, if you look at everybody's wardrobe, at the best, you use 30% of your clothes, 70% you either used once or even never, right? So we believe that 30% will probably still remain physical, but the 70% which you bought completely out of self-expression, craziness, impulse, or just for a special occasion will likely go digital to start with. And we strongly believe that the future will be, even moving further from that we're going to be aliens with silver suits walking around. But yeah, we'll be dressing wonderfully with flame jackets that don't burn our bodies, or with the new fashion that is invented by ourselves. Because again, I think besides just taking creativity to the next level, the ability to be a designer and everybody being a designer will also be growing with technologies, like we all now are photographers. I think we're all going to be fashion designers at one stage, which is super exciting. And NFT will be a way for everybody to set themselves as a brand and to earn the living, and as well as to actually curate and co-create with each other.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of co-creation, we did get a question from the audience that I think really fits with the theme. How would you motivate physical creators to collaborate with digital artists to actually digitize their work and join the NFT movement? Karinna, I think you might be well qualified for this.
Yeah, I mean, I see that it's not very hard. I think there's a natural appetite, particularly when you have creatives tend to be hyper curious. They tend to always kind of like think multidisciplinary as part of their kind of like creative process. So I think when you kind of dangle a carrot of creating something that hasn't been created before, that kind of uniqueness or the fusion of kind of like learning and kind of like cross discipline and kind of cross collaboration, I so far have never met anyone who's been a hard no to it. I think there are some people who maybe if they're like completely kind of like anti-tech will take a little while to warm up. But I think that basic premise of creating something new and individual always wins over.
Yeah, I think it's also incredibly inspiring to help people to expand their work. When they are a craftsman in a specific space, digital can help them expand their arsenal in terms of the tools that they're able to create and the messages they're able to share, which I think is always enticing for a creator. So being able to help them believe in what their work can look like can be a really big motivator to help them pursue this. Benoit, one question for you is about what are some of the best ways to display NFT work down the line? A lot of those images that we see that are being displayed on the internet can sometimes be placed in flat screens. So what are some of the more aesthetically pleasing ways of displaying virtual assets?
To display NFTs in physical world, you mean?
Yes.
I mean, there's lots of what's cool as well, because the ecosystem is breeding different type of verticals. So there's lots of interesting companies making work right now. Infinite objects with like the screens that is easy to use, super well designed, serves as authenticity. I never know how to say it in English, so authenticated value as well. You have other companies that are making, and we're in touch with, we're doing something with one company in 2 weeks. You'll see that's like doing holographic screens. You have a lot of ways to do, it's been something that's been in development for a long time. Anyway, like screen technologies is evolving very fast as well with micro LED, all of this stuff. The 3D TVs were a bit shit. and it never really worked because there was nothing really useful to display on it. But all of the technology and R&D has been done on that already. And if you combine that with light field technology, so it's all a lot of technologies that were in development for a long time for maybe the movie industry or like retailers and stuff like that. So what's cool is that a lot of companies these technologies are not that hard to source now. So it can come up both from small teams like Infinite Objects that did a really good display and are currently the leaders in the space for how to display NFTs in your physical room. But Sony is doing something with holographic screens as well. A lot of companies are doing big R&D on that. So that's one way. And us, the way we prefer is augmented reality, so that you can augment your space. So for now, it's happening through your phone, but 3-5 years from now, through glasses. And already, Snapchat did a really cool prototype we're gonna play with soon. So there's lots of stuff that is moving on the technology side to display every day as well.
Absolutely. I think AR is a really big topic when it comes to talking about NFTs as well, because the display of the NFT is such an important component. We had a couple of follow-up questions about AR glasses as well. So when it comes to introducing the concept of digital fashion to audiences that are unfamiliar with it, I think platforms like Snapchat and Instagram already play a really big role to familiarizing people with even small components of AR over photos. And I know, Karinna, you're also using AR for your platform to be able to display garments. And Benoit, I think you've taken it to another level with like truly customizing sneakers. I'd love to hear your perspective on how do you think AR is going to actually assist being able to improve the viewing of NFTs, not necessarily in the physical environment, but through the augmentation of either glasses or your phone.
So I think to me this is like definitely the ultimate medium to interact or view or display NFTs, because I mean for now it's more of a personal experience. You see your thing in AR and then you share it on social media. But the moment it happens that AR glasses are really well done and ready for the mass market, and that everyone wears them, you'll be able to see what everyone is wearing and displaying and using to augment themselves and or augment their brand or whatever you want, right? So for sure, it's the main technological wearable piece that we're all waiting on. And the cool thing with it is that we don't need to wait on it to be fully there to work on it, because it's again like every new very groundbreaking technologies. It's really a step-by-step thing, and right now a lot of the work is done by both individuals and also massive companies like Apple, Snapchat, Microsoft. Everyone is working on this for sure. So we just need to wait, and in the meantime keep building and working on the day the medium is spread around the world.
Thank you. Karinna, would you like to chip in on this topic as well?
And I guess from our perspective, it's been really important for us to offer web AR on the product page, first of all, so that pre-purchase, you get to take the item into your own environment, inspectify it, look at the digital craft, and then hopefully that acts as a conversion to kind of purchase. And then afterwards, once you've purchased the NFT, we also give you an AR file as well, so that again you can use it as part of that kind of like showcasing and stuff like that. And people just are reacting so well to it because it's already ingrained in a lot of our kind of like businesses, and of course in here already.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Adriana, I think in many ways, whenever you get to work with companies that are in the fashion space or even in a non-technical field, crypto can feel like a steep hill to climb for consumers and those brands. So to me, I think innovation is always a healthy relationship with risk. So when people in non-technical roles hear words like digital twin, virtual event, or digital clothes, they can seem outside of their field of view. So what practical advice would you give someone who wants to actually incorporate NFT technology as a fashion designer, as a fashion brand?
Yeah, it's a very good question, because I must say the amount of questions around NFTs has increased tremendously, right? And it became just like a buzzword in the fashion space. And a lot of people came to us asking to do an NFT, and we politely declined, because we believe that it's like our experience is that it's a community. It's not like you can come in and just make an NFT and it's going to be successful, right? There have been Levi's just made one, and I think we all look at it and said, what is this? And Nike launched a sneaker NFT and sold for very little. So the NFTs is I think became a buzzword and very badly understood. So I think it's respect the community, make sure that there is value to what you're doing, that there is creative value, that there is community value, that there is utility, there is a message, there is a story. If you're going to position it with art is all about storytelling, right? It's all about taste and it's about creativity. If you're positioning it as a utility, maybe you have a place in several utility marketplace if that resonates with the community. Again, like another example, Gucci launched this whole space in Roblox. There was a lot of backlash. Benoit, you were part of the conversation as well. Now, ultimately, they sold a bag for $4,000. I don't know who bought it, but kind of, do you belong to that space or not? And I think the last one is, at the same time, don't make it a big thing out of it. Give it a try, because I think that is the spirit of we around this table versus big brands and big organizations. Big brands, big organizations need to be everything perfect, business case done, all risk-free, legal people are going to check it. And we're like, well, we're gonna do it and we're gonna see what happens, right? And I think you need to come with that perspective as well. It's all very nascent, it's all very new. Give it a try and be respectful. I don't know if I'm sure that Karinna and Benoit have things to add to that as well.
On the who is gonna sorry, I don't remember the beginning of the question. I listened to what you said, Adriana, but I don't remember the initial question.
So the question is primarily around like when it comes to actually being able to work with the NFTs, how like Adriana gave an example of a Nike, for example, dropping one or a different brand doing it outside of context, and how important it is to actually contextualize that experience.
No, but also, I mean, the thing is that, lots of people want to get in the space because there's been a lot of press about it, but the reality of things is that the community is still very small. There's still a very small amount of people who own crypto, have a wallet, or are participating actively in the community every day. There's a lot of artists, joining every day, but there's more artists joining every day than there's people, there's collectors. I think. I don't have data on that, but from my perspective, that's what I see. Then after you have specific projects that are acting as a bridge to bring in more people. That's why us, for example, when we did the Ferocious and we did the physicals, it attracted a lot of people who bought their first NFT because they knew there was a physical sneaker linked to it. Just like when we did Jeff Staples, because, we brought some of his audience and his fan base, and we collaborated with him in a very genuine manner, just one-to-one on WhatsApp, it was easy to do. So I think the moment, because the space is so fast, really every day there's something going on. It's really crazy. It's a bit overwhelming sometimes, to be honest with you. But the moment you want to come in as a brand and you bring what I was mentioning earlier, all your legacy, that legacy can also be your legal team. A lot of the process you need to approve within the marketing budgets and the campaigns, timing, etc. It's just a lot harder to come in and tap in a right authentic moment in the community, because the community is moving so fast and is already being fed by so much project every day that if you start working on a project now and release it 3 months from now, like the community will have evolved and changed by that time. So I think there's two approaches to it. Is either you really try to get in through the community to do projects to get some learnings, with the artists really mainly. Don't try to come in with your brand. Otherwise, you really start to build the team internally that's really serious about that subject and work on a 10-year plan. So there's no middle ground, I think, around it. And
Yeah, I think context has been a really central part of this conversation in particular, saying that NFTs, they are a technology, but they work together with your existing brand, other technologies like AR or visualization or anything else that you'd like to actually implement to package up the message that you're trying to share is very important. So instead of creating a standalone solution that can be part of your marketing, one-off marketing campaign, think of it as a long-term 5-10-year project. And we're coming up to the top of the hour for us. And I wanted to ask you, this question, because as important as it is to actually make data-driven decisions when you are making decisions as a leader, I think your intuition is often very telling of what will happen in the future. So what is your intuitive, maybe half crazy prediction of what digital fashion industry will look like in the next 5 to 10 years? Karinna, let's start with you.
Well, I mean, I guess I'm very
Looks so
excited
universal
about...
profile.
Yeah, I mean, definitely Luxo Universal Profiles. But before you get to the Luxo Universal Profiles, I'm very excited by the shopping environment. Like, where will you be seduced to find these garments, and then will that be the same environment that you will be wearing the garments after you've kind of like purchased them? So that kind of like sense of community and curation, and also I'm very excited about the things that we haven't seen yet. So we've started seeing obviously experimentation with breedability and reactivity to different things and layered ownership and such like that. I'm very excited about those kind of ideas, and I'm also very excited about and this might be a boring answer, but about the brands that we already know and love that do have legacies going into this space as well. And this is also a plea for anyone watching that, yeah, that experimentation that Adriana talked to, I think is really critical.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Adriana, I'd love to hear your prediction of what the fashion industry will look like in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I think we're very excited and a big believer on this new generation of post-consumerism, the new generation of creators, and I really believe that there will be digital-only brands emerging, and I'm super excited to see that emergence of like us, the fashion house 3.0, which will exist with completely different materials and new takes in the creative side of fashion, in the storytelling side of fashion. So I think that's going to be very exciting. And I think next to that, what's super exciting is the true utility, the true me leaving my physical wardrobe to choose for a digital wardrobe and being able to wear it in the digital space. I think that's going to be the big leap.
That's so exciting. We're just at the beginning. Benoit, I'd love to hear your prediction of the future.
I mean, if you say 5, 10 years, like for sure, I can say, I think augmented reality glasses will be there. Not great version in 5 years, really great version in 10 years. So I think that will really trigger like a full new way to think of fashion in general, and people will prioritize their digital clothings and augmentations. As well as what avatars they have to play in the different games, and whether it is through their glasses or still through a screen. So that's what I'm the most excited about, and also see how the young generation is embracing this technology and this new paradigm, I think. And I think 10 years from now, you will have a lot more different brands like us, or like the Fabricant, who's a digital fashion house. There will be a lot more people like us. Maybe Artifact by the time will become a kind of a futuristic LVMH, and we will own all of these guys. So this, I don't know. But I mean, I think there's going to be group formings, maybe as DAOs or whatever. I think it's going to organize itself from a different route than the traditional fashion industry has been organizing itself, in terms as well of how the team are built, or like how the brands are structured and what's their main revenue models. So I think we're going to be in a very, very different world that we are today, and that today we're just experiencing the very early waves of a way bigger wave that's coming within 10 years.
Thank you so much. Yeah, oh my gosh, it sounds so exciting, but also, Karinna, I'm sure you get to see this also from your perspective as an educator in a classroom where you interact with digital natives, an entire subset of human population that has grown around this technology. So for them, digital native brand or a brand that is born out of a metaverse seems like a very normal process. So I think it's going to be exciting to see what types of brands will actually come out of this experience. Thank you to the three of you so much for joining us for this conversation, helping us expand our imagination, help us ask better questions. And thank you for the work that you do in this space as well. I'm excited to follow what you create next. And if you enjoyed this talk, please give our panelists a follow on LinkedIn to stay in touch with their work. Thank you, NFT Summit, for hosting us. Thank you to all the listeners, and hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thanks, guys.